Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Danny Vittori, and today we have on here two guests from the American Red Cross and YMCA. We have from, starting on my left, Kathleen Walsh, the CEO of the YMCA of Metro North and a Red Cross chapter board member. We also have Kyle McWilliam-Lopez, the executive director of the Northeast Chapter of the American Red Cross of Massachusetts. Did I get it all?
You did.
You got it.
Yes. Doing so well today. So I will ask both of you, just quickly ask, how did you get involved with the Red Cross initially?
Well, I guess I'll start
Sure.
because I am the newer than the two of us. So I work for the YMCA, a nonprofit really focused on social services. And Dave Solomini, who is a board member for the Northeast American Red Cross chapter, approached me about doing some disaster services using our Y. So if there's a big event in Lynn, could we evacuate folks to the Y? And it led to one thing after another. And then he asked me most recently if I was interested in a board position, maybe a couple years ago. And I was intrigued. You know, I think the Red Cross is amazing. You know, what the work that they do is exceptional. And I got to meet Kyle and learned more about specifically what we do, Red Cross Northeast, and I accepted the job. So, you know, for me, it aligns with my values and the values of our organization.
Great.
And for me, I really have my mom and my dad to thank. I would say, so my story starts with my mom being involved in my school growing up and just showing me the value of service. And then my dad has instilled in me service since I was little. I come from a military family. I did AmeriCorps, Peace Corps, and I've been the executive director here locally for the last 3 years, and I've been with the organization for 5.
Awesome. That sounds great. Thank you. And you'd mentioned it for a little bit, but some of your local disaster services, what have you been doing with that, with the pandemic and then other things that have been happening since?
Excellent. Yeah. So our mission is to alleviate human suffering. So the Red Cross is always providing services when people need it most. We deliver that mission across 5 different lines of service. The first, as you mentioned, is disaster. Locally, we're responding to about 2 to 3 home fires on average every day. So that's a lot. Here in the Northeast, we've got disaster volunteers that go out to, we're seeing about 100+ fires every year. So the need for volunteers is huge, and I have the privilege of really working with incredible volunteers that have the compassion and the desire to help and make a difference in their community. So that's locally on the response front. We're also trying our best to make communities more prepared. So we've got a suite of preparedness programs. We've got youth programs that are aimed for children ages 4 to 7. That's called a Prepare with Pedro. Just teaches kids safety skills, emotional coping skills. We have another one called the Pillowcase Project, and that's for ages 8 to 11. And then we have got preparedness programs for adults and businesses as well. So that's on the preparedness side. And then we're always working with emergency management and community partners to make sure that we are ready for medium to large scale events. You know, should there be a winter storm or a hurricane and we need to set up a shelter. So we're always looking for good partners to help us with that work. And there is a real need for more people to come out and help us as shelter volunteers. Mm-hmm. So.
And I think, you know, Lynn has had a series of fires, and it's been remarkable at the Red Cross's response. You know, helping people get relocated, giving them some startup money to get some essentials, and that's not going to change. But what needs to change is we need more volunteers to help.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a fact.
That's first and foremost.
Yeah.
So then, if people want to volunteer, how would they go about doing it?
That's a great question, and I think, you know, Kyle will answer that, but, you know, one of the things that we talked about as a board just yesterday, or maybe a couple days ago, I don't even know anymore.
2 days ago.
Is really making it easier. We don't want to have any roadblocks, whether it's language, whether it's technology skills. There's a lot of people that want to volunteer that they may not be, the sharpest on online stuff, or they may not know English as their first language. So we talked about that, but Kyle has a way to get people started, and if there are roadblocks, it's a reach out directly to Kyle or even myself, and we can help navigate that for them. So I don't know if you'll be able to put the information on the screen at some point, the website.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And to your point of, we're always looking for people who have bilingual skills because, we're always trying to reach the most vulnerable amongst us with our services. And so we've got a real focus here in the Northeast on the communities that are the most diverse. So places like here, Lynn, Lawrence, Lowell, Salem, Haverhill, Methuen. These are just to name some of the places where we're focusing our efforts on outreach and to build partnerships. But generally speaking, what I would say is if someone's interested in getting involved, please go to redcross.org/volunteer, or you can write an email to mavolunteer@redcross.org.
And I want to comment on that. We have the generalization that you think, if I'm going to be a Red Cross volunteer, I have to do X, Y, or Z. They have a directory of opportunities that fits everybody and fits everybody's ability to carve out time. So I think it's important not to just think, if I'm a Red Cross volunteer, I have to go fight a fire, or I have to go, to deal with a tornado or hurricane. There are things that you could do right from your home that will assist the Red Cross.
Thank you, and that's a great segue into maybe talking about another line of service, because, and I'll switch over to blood drives. So blood services. We have a huge need for what we call a blood donor ambassador. That's a volunteer position. Someone can come out and help at our local community blood drives. And they're the people that really ensure that our blood donors have a smooth and welcoming experience when they come out to donate their life-saving blood. But just to say a few things about the need for blood, the Red Cross collects about 40% of the nation's blood supply. Every 2 seconds, there's someone in a hospital somewhere that needs a blood transfusion, and so that need is huge. And what else can I say? I think we're always looking to partner with organizations in the community that can either open up their doors and help us message the need for more blood donors, or just sponsor a blood drive. Even if you don't have a location where you can open your location up and host a blood drive, you can help sort of create awareness around that need and increase blood donor turnout. And Kathleen is a great example of that. That's one of the main things that she's been helping with at her YMCA right here.
Yeah, all of our YMCAs host blood drives. And I will tell you, for me personally, I'm a baby. I'm afraid of needles. And, I had given blood in high school and college to get the free T-shirt or whatever it was, and it was the in thing to do. Now, as an adult, I have now started to give blood again, because I understand what it does. I mean, I can give a pint of blood and potentially save 3 lives. I can't do that any other way.
Yeah.
And it's a light lift, right? I get a little dizzy, you know that. I have a little issue.
We've got beds there in case you need to lay down.
However, I mean, I have a friend, who has a bunch of illnesses that require transfusions, and in the heart of the pandemic, she could only get 1/3 of the blood she needed.
Oh, wow.
And that was the reality for 2 full years. It's gotten a little bit better now, but certainly the need for blood is extraordinary, and it's a gift that we can all give. I shouldn't say all, but a lot of us can give. And yes, you get a little pinch. For me, it's the iron check that's the worst. That's the worst. But the feeling afterwards, and the feeling, I get a text on my phone when my blood landed, what hospital it did. And I think, that is, if you can't get satisfaction about literally potentially saving someone's life for something so simple, that our body will regenerate and will feel fine, and really 100% in a few days. I think it's something that everybody that qualifies should do. And if you don't qualify, spread the word to people that can.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds right. It's such a huge thing that people need blood. You want to get people to donate. And transition a little bit, because one of the big things you also talked about was the sickle cell initiative, which I know is tied a little bit into blood, but is also a larger initiative that you definitely mentioned before as well.
Yeah, this one, and it's actually one of the reasons why we got in touch, you and I, because we were at the Diversity Matters Festival here in Lynn, and one of the things we're trying to raise awareness about is this national initiative, which is the Sickle Cell Initiative. For those who don't know, sickle cell is the most common genetic blood disease. I think it's up to 100,000 people are affected nationwide, and people that are affected, they really need a blood transfusion from a Black donor, right? And so there's a huge need, and we're trying to ensure that these poor people that suffer from this disease can get the blood transfusions that they need. And just to give you a glimpse of what that looks like, one person may need up to 100 transfusions every year.
Wow.
And when someone needs that blood that has sickle cell, it's excruciating pain that they're going through. It's just one of the things that we're trying to do is to partner with the Black community more than ever, and in doing that, increase Black donor turnout.
They're working especially hard. Dave Solimene and the Biomed Committee, which I am part of, is really working hard in this city to raise awareness and to really, ask for donors, because we want to help people even within the city. I mean, it's a fact. It's one of the startling statistics for me was, African American population makes up 13% of the population, but African American blood donors are only 3%. So that's a huge gap.
Yeah.
So no matter what we do, can't help everybody, and we want to get to the point where we can. Again, light lift, give it a pint of blood.
And we actually have a blood drive that's upcoming, a sickle cell blood drive on November 5th. It's going to be here in Lynn. I can share more information with you after the show, but it's going to be at the Pentecostal Church here in Lynn on November 5th.
And for those of you familiar with the YMCA in Lynn, we do monthly blood drives.
Oh, great.
So people can come in, they can see the brand new DeMarcus YMCA. Can't work out after giving the blood, though. They have to wait a day.
Rest.
They have to wait a day, but they can come in, and it's beautiful. We have parking, and we have great staff, and it's relatively comfortable. It gives me 20 minutes of laying down.
There you go.
All I can ask.
In that beautiful brand new YMCA.
Exactly. And again, we have those in Melrose and Saugus and Peabody as well. But for people in Lynn, DeMarcus YMCA.
Yes.
And Kyle, maybe you could tell them how people can find out where the schedule is?
Yeah, the best thing to do are the two really easy ways. Go to redcrossblood.org. You type in your zip code, all of the upcoming nearest blood drives that are happening will pop up. And then the second thing is you can download a blood donor app. And I highly encourage people that do want to start giving blood to do that, because it's going to make your visit just way more efficient, and it's really great.
And like I said, you get alerts where your blood goes.
That's right. Yep.
Which is also
which is
incredible
really
thing.
really
It
cool.
is.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, the few times I've donated and then it comes up and it says your blood went here, your blood went there, it is. It's just such a satisfying thing to know. It did. I went and was in for
cool.
20 minutes, half an hour, and something I could do to help somebody else
Exactly.
or multiple
Three
people.
lives.
Yeah.
3 lives. So I think I've given 4 pints, so I'm up to 12 lives, which is really satisfying.
That's pretty great.
I couldn't do it any other way.
No, definitely not. But it is. It's such an incredible thing, and I want to thank you again for coming on to talk about it. I'm sorry we have to wrap up.
Okay.
It feels like it's been so quick already, but is there anything else that you wanted to share either?
I think just one thing I wanted to mention, our Restoring Family Links program.
Yes.
This is a part of our international services work. People who are unfortunately displaced or separated from their families globally, either by war, migration, emergency, disasters, and other international emergencies. The Red Cross Global Network helps to reunite these families. So if there are immigrant groups here in Lynn, across the state of Massachusetts, they can go to our website. There's a number there they can call, submit a form, and we go to work trying to reunite you with your loved ones. And so we're just trying to raise some awareness around that.
That's fantastic. Sounds like an incredible program.
Yeah.
For
And,
sure.
and finally, I'm going to just simply say it. If you are looking for a charity of choice, the Red Cross is a great choice because the money goes right back into helping people, and that's critically important right now. We can't do our work without funding.
Yes, of course. And I'd like to thank both of you again
Thank
for
you.
coming on, of course, to let
Thank
people in
you.
the community know. So once again, I'm Danny Vittori. This has been the Lynn Lowdown. Please join us again next week with more guests.